Welcome everybody to another Flashpoint team interview where today I have the absolute pleasure of sitting down with Koosta from Gen.G. Now, we've just seen the Phase Two draw show going on, but I want to kind of throw it back to Phase One and talk about your initial group opening of Flashpoint. Obviously, you were in Snakes and Ratters alongside with yourself, MV, Chaos and MIBR. What did you kind of make of your first group overall?
Yeah, I think we came into that group really confident, seeing as we just came off a tournament win um, against like similar caliber teams like MIBR was at the tournament that we won. And so we were feeling really good going in. And one of the things we noticed as we started playing was that maybe we were just kind of like lacking in fundamentals. And so at some point, like we kind of went through a honeymoon phase, I guess, during Anaheim. And so we're just like thinking about the long term now and just making it to playoffs and stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that you bring up MIBR there. Obviously, as you said, you sort of faced them in Anaheim, and it was kind of a different result coming into your group here at Flashpoint. Were there any kind of surprises for you in terms of the results of your overall group?
Yeah, I definitely did not expect Chaos to win the group.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, two teams had stand-ins, so it wasn't like the cleanest group, and we didn't get to play on land. So just like a lot of different things that might have thrown us off a little bit.
Obviously, you kind of mentioned your result in Anaheim as well, which was sort of a real star point for the team. It was your first land tournament, going in and winning it and not dropping a single map. Looking back at that tournament, what were your kind of strong points of the team and your main focus within that tournament?
I think our strongest points were just trading and being together, and um, it's like we were just hitting every shot, I guess, which you can't rely on. So now we have to go back and just rethink about like our spacing and all that, just to, yeah, if we don't get the entry, like how we can still get into the round.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that you bring up that point of you can't always rely on certain people to show up. Obviously, we saw sort of Som going off in that tournament. He's been a little bit quieter coming into Flashpoint. How are you kind of sort of rendering those results and how are you going about improving them?
Yeah, I think it's pretty hard because at a certain point you have to rely on people to perform. So I think all around we're just trying to get back to that level that we can be at, just trying to pick up the slack for each other if certain people aren't fit, or just like sometimes in a game if someone isn't uh playing that well for themselves, then you have to take on different responsibilities, and I think that we will have to experiment with doing that.
Yeah, because obviously you guys, you're a relatively new roster in the grand scheme of things. Do you feel like that win in Anaheim put any extra pressure on you coming into Flashpoint?
Maybe a little bit. We've been talking about how, there's like a few of us that haven't really been expected to win before, so maybe that's a different sort of pressure. Um, I think one of the things that we're lacking right now is that sometimes we play too much, um, not to lose rather than playing to win. Just trying to get it back because that's something that we were really good at Anaheim.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point. Just kind of going back to how young and fresh this roster is. You've only sort of been together for what, just over 3 months now. Are there any particular learning points you've kind of had as a team? You kind of mentioned there trying to sort of pick up the slack for each other when certain people aren't performing. Are there any sort of big learning points you've had as a team?
Um, yeah, I think one of the biggest ones is just knowing when to play out the round and when to just try to like force your way into a site and get the bomb down, especially on T side. Um, so that's one thing we've talked about a lot is when to just hold and let the other team make the mistake. And um, yeah, just like basic fundamentals, spacing and trading, and like who's gonna support and just playing off information, things like that, have been the things that we've been trying to improve on the most.
In a recent interview with Daps just after DreamHack Open, he talked a bit about the communication barrier between sort of the team and Bntet. Obviously, English is his second language. So has this been something that has sort of been improving since that time? And has he been able to have a bit more of an input in the team?
Yeah, I think English is actually like his fourth language,
Oh
so
wow, okay.
um, it has been getting better slowly. I mean, I think he just like watches YouTube videos and that's how he learns English. So yeah, like we were telling him to watch Paw Patrol the other day. Uh, it is getting better, and he has been like talking more outside of the game, just in terms of like relating ideas that he has and all that. So it's been slowly improving.
Yeah, because he's widely regarded as one of the best, if not the best player in the Asian Counter Strike scene. Does he kind of bring any fresh ideas or new approaches to the team?
Um, I wouldn't say he has anything like ground. I mean, if you watch Asian CS, sometimes like they play really weird. He hasn't really brought any of that. Uh, I think that he's just like a very fundamental player, and um, like we don't need to do anything weird to win, or we don't expect that we have to, win off of gimmicks. So yeah, he's just been helping with that side of the game.
So, in terms of yourself kind of fitting into this roster, obviously you've been on the staple sort of North American CS teams. You've been on Team Liquid, been on Cloud9, so many huge names. But how does this team kind of differ? Because I know Daps was sort of mentioning you guys a little bit more chilled out, but also have a sort of serious approach to the game. Do you kind of feel that as well?
Yeah, I think at least like relating to we had a boot camp in Europe before Anaheim, and we just took a very professional approach, I guess. And I mean, I guess everyone is shifting towards that nowadays, but it really does help. There's definitely a good balance of fun and taking it very seriously. I think Elmo Putty does a good job keeping us in check. Things get a little too rowdy, but other than that, I mean, we're just playing a video game, right? So everyone's gonna be having fun at some point. Can't just like I guess that's the biggest difference between this and some other teams is on some other teams like wouldn't be just running around, you know, and have your coach like tell you to relax and like you're being idiots. So
Now, just going back to phase one, I want to talk a little bit about your opening matchup against Envy, who showed up perhaps more than people had previously anticipated them to. You managed to take Envy's map pick, Train, and it was a really, really close overtime win. But then they managed to come back and take your map pick of Inferno. What was there anything in particular that Envy did that was kind of unexpected or sort of difficult to predict in that matchup?
I think on Train it definitely felt like they had watched our demos, that they were trying to counter some of the things that we do. And so being a new team, that's not something that we've had to play against before, so that's definitely something we have to account for in the future as well. And I think just a general like maybe like a lack of pressure from having a stand-in, and they were taking a lot of individual battles that we didn't see from them in practice or just expect from them in general.
Now, ultimately, you did manage to take that series 2-1. What were your kind of main takeaways as a team going forwards into the rest of Flashpoint Phase 1?
I think one of the biggest things is, like I said, just knowing that teams are going to be watching how we play and they're going to be expecting or they're going to know what we do. So we have to, like you should be able to win even if they know what you do, but it's something we have to keep in mind now that we haven't had to before. And just not breaking down when, teams do try to counter you.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier that it was a little bit of a surprise to see sort of Chaos doing so well in the group. Obviously, you unfortunately lost out to them and MIBR in your later matches. What were some of the issues that you guys kind of faced as a team in those two best of threes?
Um, I'll talk about MIBR first since it was the most recent. I think we weren't expecting the amount of aggression that they were bringing. We sort of thought of them as a more fundamental team, but I think like GenG was just like jumping through smokes and stuff at Banana on T side, so definitely weren't prepared for that. And against Chaos, we sort of knew how they played, but I mean it's just hard like uh playing against stand-ins sometimes you don't know what to expect. They sort of do know what to expect from you. And yeah, I think that's just something that experience will help with in terms of just playing against.
Yeah,
It's like
100%.
it's like hard to you just don't expect to play against a stand. It's like a different feel.
Yeah, and I mean you've got a completely different group of teams going into phase two of Flashpoint. Obviously, the original group rather, group A that you were in was yourself, Cloud9, MV, and Copenhagen Flames. What did you kind of make of that first group that you were initially in, and why do you think that Copenhagen Flames picked you to round off the group?
Maybe because we've been playing them in practice a good amount, and um, we haven't been playing very well as a team. We've been kind of struggling to find consistency and just like a base level of play. And so maybe that they just think that's something they can exploit.
Because you then decided to swap yourselves with contact into Group C. Why did you decide to do that? Why? What was your sort of mindset behind swapping yourselves into the other group?
I wasn't there for that decision, but Sam said that if we didn't swap groups, then we would have to cancel today's practice because I think we like had two scrims against Copenhagen. Obviously, that's not the real reason.
But you'll be facing Dignitas in your opening matchup of stage two, and it's going to be crucial for both of you guys to be getting those points on the leaderboard to hopefully make it to the playoffs. What do you kind of make of this Dig line? I was going to say the new Dig lineup. Obviously, it is sort of an OG team really coming together. And there's a lot of veterans in that team. What do you kind of make going up against them?
I think the biggest thing is just there's no more pressure on us because we've already lost, and so we just have to play how we know how to play. And if we do that, then we're gonna win, beat anybody.
Well, Kostap said in the opening interview, I believe, at Flashpoint, that he was confident that you guys were going to come in here and you weren't just going to win your group, you were going to win the whole league, which was some strong words coming from him. But I kind of want to know what you guys are going to be doing a little bit differently coming into Phase 2 to help move up the rankings and achieve that goal.
I think the biggest thing is just having to just like find our form, I think. We definitely haven't been showing our best selves, and if we continue to be unable to, if we continue to not be able to bring that uh that form, then we're gonna see what we saw earlier. But if we can manage to find just like a little bit of that team that we know we can be, then definitely think then I definitely think that we're gonna if we can bring that.
Now, the team is currently ranked number 15 on the HLTV World Rankings. And I know that you've kind of reiterated that same goal of DAPS of, going on and winning the entire league. But do you have any kind of personal goals, or are there any goals sort of internally within the team?
For me, it's just coming in every day and being the best player that I can be, and when it comes to match time, just like showing people that I'm not like stealing paychecks and whatever. And as a team, right now I think our biggest goal is just trying to figure out how to just like not shit the bed, I guess is the best way to put it.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join me here today, Koosta, and good luck going into
Problem.
Phase Two of Flashpoint.
Thanks.